Well, what's up, guys, and welcome back to another video. As you guys saw at the beginning of the video, the ice is back. The backs of the pockets are frozen. We've had a big front move through, and we've got another one moving in right behind it. The temperatures have dropped dramatically. The water levels dropped. The water temperature has dropped. I mean, pretty much everything that we don't like to hear during the winter has happened, but I have a plan to try to catch these fish, and I'm going to see if I can go execute on it today. And I want to break that plan down with you guys to see if it's something that's going to work. Now, it's worked in the past, and it should work again, but I want to talk through it with you guys. I want to break it down, and I want you guys to come along with me on this journey to see if we can go and catch some fish today in these tough conditions that we're facing. And I do appreciate you clicking on this video. I'm so glad that you did. But without further ado, I'm going to shut up. We're going to get after it, and we're going to see if this plan that I have works out. That was fun. There you go, guys. First one of the day. Little dude, but still a fun fish. Smashed that thing and then came back and ate it. And I think that's important. We're going to talk about how when the water drops, when the temperature drops, when these fish slow down just a little bit, how you can get them to bite today. All right, guys, there's three main factors as to why I am catching fish today. Number one is the weather and how it's actually affecting the water conditions. Number two is going to be the bait that I'm throwing. And the number three, and probably the most important, is the retrieve that I'm using. And so we're going to break all three of those down today in this video, and we'll start with weather and water conditions as soon as we get this fish into the boat. Oh yeah, that's a good one. He's a little chunk nasty. I mean, that is a unit. Look at the way that fish is built. Absolute unit. Awesome bite too. Awesome bite. And that retrieve is so important into why we're catching fish today, like I said. And we'll break that down in number three. But first, again, it's the weather and the water conditions. All right, guys, so let's talk about the first factor, which is the weather and how it's affecting the water conditions. So we've had a big front move through here in Tennessee, and it has dropped both the air temperatures and the water temperatures quite dramatically. Pre-front, air temperatures were anywhere from, you know, highs in the mid-50s to lows in the 40s, whereas the past couple days post-front, the air temperatures are anywhere from highs in the 40s to lows into the 20s and even the teens. Now, this has also affected the water temperature. As you guys saw at the beginning of the video, there was actually ice in the backs of the pockets, which is pretty dramatic considering that just a few days ago, you know, when those air temperatures were still warm pre-front, I was seeing water temperatures anywhere from 53 to 55 as a high. Whereas today, I'm seeing water temperatures anywhere from 48 to 51 to 52 as a high. And as you guys can tell, that is pretty dramatic drop in temperatures, especially for these fish. Now, another thing that has happened is the water level is actually down. The reason the water level is down is because these lakes here in Tennessee are TVA lakes. And the TVA designed these lakes for two purposes. Number one is flood control, and number two as hydroelectrical power production. But the first job of these lakes is flood control. And so they're actually preparing for another big front that's going to be moving through here in just a couple of days. And so they have dropped the water level by about 3 or 4 feet to prepare for that influx of the rain that's actually going to be coming off of that front. Now, both of those factors, both the water temperature dropping and the water level dropping, has pulled these fish off the bank. Now, just a few days ago when the water temp was up and when the water was up, these fish were right up on the bank. They were eating stuff like jigs. They were eating this crankbait right up on the bank. And, you know, you could just literally throw it up onto the rocks, reel it a couple times, and they would eat it. But today, they've pulled off the bank. That drop in water temperature, as well as the drop in water level, has made these fish just get a little bit deeper. They've started using these bluffs and the limbs of these laydowns and the ends of these laydowns as their ambush points in today's video. And a lot of that has to do, again, with the fact that the water level and the water temperature has dropped. These fish, when they get stressed, a lot of the times they don't really want to move horizontally. You know, they don't want to have to swim down the bank 300 or 400 yards. They just want to be able to drop down from maybe sitting in 5 to 6 feet to sitting in like 8 to 10 feet. And the reason for that is, number one, when the water level drops, they're going to follow it down just like they follow the water level when it comes up. You know, they'll come up with the water level and they'll go down with the water level. They just follow the water. It's kind of a natural instinct. But the biggest thing is you go just a few feet below the surface, even 10 to 15 feet below the surface, and those water temperatures can actually go up. So just because I'm having a surface temperature of anywhere from 48 to 51, even 10 foot down, that water temperature could be still in that 55 to 56 degree range. It's just like when a lake freezes. The top of the lake will freeze, but the bottom won't. And a lot of that has to do with that little bit deeper water. Wow, that's a good smallmouth. Will hold that water temperature just a little bit more, unlike that surface temperature. And so those fish, just like that one that literally ate right here at the boat, will get just a little bit deeper to avoid that change in water temp. And it makes these fish, just like this one, move out into just a little bit deeper water and makes them just a little bit harder to catch just because they're not right up on the bank. And that's really where the lure and the retrieve comes into play into catching more fish like that. And that's actually what we're going to break down next. There we go. You're good. On safe. Get this little fish in here. There you go, guys. Get here, bud. Go. There we go. There we go. Golly, man, they just crush it. Buddy. Thank you, sir. There you go, guys. Not a big one, but crushing that stop and go retrieve. I mean, they just smash it. They just smash it. So let's actually talk about the lure that I'm using. Now, you guys are probably really familiar with this thing by this point, but this is the Berkley Money Badger, and the size is the 6.25 size. Now, what's really cool about the Money Badger is, you know, it's an awesome small body, medium diving crankbait. And, you know, those small body, medium diving crankbaits are a staple on the lakes that I like to fish. Any of these highland reservoir style lakes, you know, these lakes with more vertical style banks like these bluff wall banks that I like to fish, these small body medium diving crankbaits just work, you know. And this includes stuff like the Money Badger, Spro Rock Crawler, the Bandit, you know, the list goes on and on and on of all the different crankbaits that kind of encompass this genre. Now, what's really cool about the Money Badger is the fact that it suspends. So this thing suspends just like a jerkbait suspends. So I can actually reel it down to a point, and when I stop reeling, that bait just sits there in the water. It actually floats, but it floats very, very slowly to the point that it almost acts like a jerkbait. And that is super important today because these fish are just a little bit more stressed out. Like I said, we've had a drop in the water level. We've had a drop in the water temperature. We've had these fish that have moved off of this cover. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually reeling that bait down there, and I'm just stopping it in front of their face to get them to eat it. Now, another key factor with this bait is actually the bill. Now, the bill is going to make it dive pretty dramatically. Now, this bait dives anywhere from 10 to 11 feet at the max, and that bill and that bill angle, as well as that weight transfer system in there, when that bait actually hits the water with that disc in the front, it's going to already be angled in the direction that you want it to go, which is down, and it's going to be able to hit that maximum diving depth as quickly as it possibly can so that you can get it down there and get it in the strike zone for those fish to actually be able to eat it. The second thing is the color. I mean, obviously I've been throwing this blaze color a lot lately. I've been throwing the firetail crawl a lot lately as well. And these fish love these very dramatic crawl colors this time of year. And I actually broke down why in a video that I put out just the other day that I'll make sure and link down in the description. But it just looks like what they're eating. You know, it looks like crawdads, it looks like perch, it looks like bluegill in some cases. And when you put in front of these fish what they want to eat, they're going to eat it. But really, when you look at this kind of style of fishing, when you look at where these fish are, you know, they've pulled off into a little bit deeper water because the water level and the water temperature has dropped. They're still wanting to eat the kind of same thing that they've been eating, but they're just in a different position. You got to make sure that you're throwing the right bait to actually get it down there in those fish's face and to get them to eat it. And really, kind of the most important thing that plays into both the bait that I'm using as well as the weather and the water conditions is the retrieve that I'm using. We're going to break that down next. That is big. Yep, that is really big. That is so big. That is a huge fish, guys. That's a really big, maybe a 6-pounder. Nope. And he ate that thing because that stop and go retrieve that I was talking about. Buddy, come here, come here, come here. Guys, that is a freaking big one. God, that's a big fish. That is that stop and go retrieve. Look how he got that bait. Just totally overtook it. And he had it too. I think he wanted that thing. That is a good fish. I'd probably say 4+ pounds. Wow, what a pretty fish. What an awesome bite. Yeah, this is just awesome kind of what's happening today. You know, these bigger fish have finally started eating, and that bass right there is no exception. Let's actually get this one on the scale. All right, guys, let's see what this fish weighs. Zeros. £4 pounds, 4 ounces, man. What an awesome fish. What an awesome fish. Just a little bit longer and that'd be a heck of a lot bigger fish than it is, but God, what an awesome bite there, man. That is just, oh, that is so much fun. Got a big brown fish, a big green fish. Oh, that's a good time. Thank you, sir, for a good time. Well, ma'am, actually, these bigger fish are females, if you didn't know. So there she goes. Get out here, sweetie. Wow. Woo, that's awesome, guys. So, God, that's him. That's him. That's a freaking another big largemouth, dude. Stop that fish. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Oh, dude, that's a freaking another big one. I don't know how big his fish is, but he's freaking big. Don't come up. Stop that trying to come up. Yep, you're big. I see you. Golly. Got him. Oh, come here. Come here. Got you. Dude. Woo! Nikes. I'm telling you, Mr. Ben Nowak is just a good luck charm. Whether he's with you or he's in a whole other part of the country, he is a good luck charm. I'm on the phone with him right now. Whew. He ain't as big as that other one, but he's a freaking chunk, dude. What a fish. Oh man, what a bite too. I stopped that thing and he just, I mean, sat down on it. All right, guys, check that one out. That's another good one. I don't know how much that fish weighs, probably 3.5 pounds. Let's put it on the scale and find out real quick. Hey, you like that? Nope, 3.6. I knew that fish was bigger than that. There we go. 3.6. God, what an awesome fish, man. What an awesome bite. I mean, just sat down on that thing. That is awesome. Thank you very much for a good time. Got her, there she goes. Whoo! Love it. It's like he didn't come down this bank and throw that at that largemouth and spook him. That largemouth saw what he wanted to eat and he ate it. There's another one. There's another one. Oh my God, it's a good smallie. Oh, dude, that is a big smallmouth. Oh, like that's a big. You have to quit that damn jumping. Quit that damn jumping. Golly, fish are so pissed off, too. Fish getting the net. Yep. It's about a 3-pounder right there. Ooh. Whew. These fish are going to give old boy a heart attack here. That's a good one. Dude, the good ones are eating. There's something that happens, folks, and Ben, because he's still on the phone with me, this time of year, that the bigger fish start eating when the water gets below 50. And I don't know what it is or why they do it, but like you'll catch a bunch of like decent sized ones this time of year and the water will get below 50 and then the good ones start eating. Hold on a second. 2.8. It's a good one. It's not a giant, but he's good. He's long. I mean, that's a 19-inch fish. God, thank you, buddy, for a good time. Thank you, sir. Heck yeah. Look at him. There he goes. All right, so let's talk about the most important factor into why I think I'm catching the fish that I am today, and that's the retrieve that I'm using. So like I said, water temperature has dropped. Water level has dropped. These fish have pulled off and they're sitting on just a little bit deeper cover. They're suspending off these bluff walls. They're suspending off these treetops, and they're just a little bit more wary and don't want to eat like they have been eating the past couple days. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually using a stop and go retrieve. Now this plays heavily into the bait that I'm using. Obviously this money badger, like I said just a few minutes ago, it actually suspends. That has to do with that little disc right there on the bottom of the bait. That disc helps to keep this bait weighted and setting in the right direction, as well as helps it to suspend in the water column and to just set right in front of those fish's face, just like a jerkbait would. And so I'm using this stop and go retrieve because these fish are just being a little bit more finicky today. And I actually kind of stumbled upon this retrieve a little bit on accident. I actually tied on a jerkbait today. You guys can see I got my jerkbait tied on right there, and I had thrown it and thrown it and thrown it because I knew with the weather and everything, the water conditions, and how, golly, I just got slammed right there, and how it had changed, that they should be eating something in kind of that stop and go style of bait. And I threw it a bunch today and just didn't get the bites that I thought I should get. And so I picked up the crankbait and I started down a bank. And with about the third or fourth cast with my crankbait, I got absolutely hammered by a bass, but he didn't actually get hooked up with the crankbait. And so I stopped it. I reeled it a couple times really quick. And then when I went to reel it again, after I stopped it again, that fish had that bait and he was on. And so after that, I kind of realized, oh, they do want that stop and go that I was getting out of that jerkbait, but they're wanting it in the profile and in the color of this crankbait, as well as the crankbait's ability to get just a little bit deeper than that jerkbait can and get down to that maximum diving depth where we want it to be able to get those fish to eat. And so I started using the stop and go retrieve, and that can be so vital. That's one of those instinctual types of fishing, is like kind of letting the fish tell you what they want. That one little fish gave me the key to today into putting these fish into the boat. You know, I knew just from my toolbox and experience on the water that these fish were going to want to eat something like a jerkbait, you know, something stop and go, something that would suspend in their face. But I didn't really consider the stop and go retrieve with the crankbait until that one fish showed me. But that's what these fish are on today, and it's really, really important. And so it's important for you guys to kind of play with retrieve sometimes, even if you're going down a bank and you're catching them just on that normal run-of-the-mill, reel it straight back to the boat kind of retrieve. Start throwing some pauses in there every now and again, because you could get those bigger than average fish to actually commit to this bait and to eat this bait, and you could go from catching, you know, pound to pound and a halfers to catching that 3, 4, 5+ pound fish that tends to live in these areas this time of year. But the retrieve today, I think, you know, when you take all the factors into consideration, the weather in the water, the bait that I'm using, that the retrieve is the most important thing in today's video that actually puts fish into the boat. There we go. Oh man, what? He got it. Came back for it. Came back for it. Came back for it. Wow, wow, that was awesome. That is that stop and go retrieve, except for we stopped it right next to the boat. Heck yeah. Oh, that was awesome, guys. Wow, that fish hit that. I pulled it away from him and it didn't spook him, and he came back and smashed it. Wow, that's awesome. Look at that, guys. That's awesome. Good little fish. God, that was awesome. That's a good fish. He's a chunk. Let's see how much that one is. Well, 2.5. It's a good little fish. A 2.5 pounder. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look how pretty that fish is, guys. Thanks, buddy. Well, guys, there you go. Stop and go retrieve at its best. What was funny about that one, though, is that fish grabbed that crankbait. He ate it like right here, probably the last third of the cast right at the boat, and I pulled it away from him. And as I brought it up to the boat, you guys saw I kind of pumped it a couple times, and when it got right next to the boat, he ate it again. And so that's kind of a perfect example, almost visually, of what we're doing today. You know, I'm just buzzing this thing past those fish's face and getting their attention. And that, you know, that crankbait's coming down in front of their face, it's stopping, and then as soon as it moves again, I'm getting those fish to react. And that's one thing that I wanted to talk about before we ended this video today, is like, today is one of those days that these fish aren't, you know, feeding a whole ton. What I believe that we're doing is we're getting these fish to react. And like I said, you know, the water's dropped, the water temperature's dropped, you know, we've had a bunch of different factors kind of go against us, and these fish are a little finicky. And that's why just that straight retrieve isn't doing it today, is because these fish aren't actively wanting to seek out and eat things, but more what we're doing is we're getting them to react to it. And so, you know, buzzing it down their face, it stops, it gets their attention, and as soon as it gets their attention, it's moving again. And we're hitting that instinct that those fish have, that, I mean, it is a biological ingrained brain thing that they have. They physically cannot help but try to kill whatever that is that just came out of their face. It's a total reaction bite. And I think that's what we're hitting today really, really hard. And so, you know, on days like today, when you apply those 3 tips that we talked about earlier, making sure that, you know, you're understanding what the weather can do to the water, when you understand the lure that you're throwing, and when you understand the retrieve that you're looking for, and kind of why that retrieve works, that being that reactionary style bite, I think you can go have a ton of success on today's like today.